Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. We are officially an Arsenal podcast again. It's been a while, but it's back. It's back on. With me tonight is, don't tell anyone, he's actually my favourite. It's Carl. All right, Carl, how you doing?
I am very good. Looking dishevelled. Probably like half the men in the UK. I need a shave. I need a haircut. Oh, it's tough times. It's tough times. But if that's the only thing I've got to worry about, then life can't be too bad.
It is. When I have tough times, Carl, do you know what I do?
Think about food.
You have a wee?
I get that photo of you, me and Femi. I hold it close and I rock backwards and forwards and I say to myself, one day it'll all be okay. Sometimes I'm doing that for hours every day. Anyway, talking about doing things for hours every day, it's the podcast whore himself. It's Mike Feinberg. How are you doing, Treacle?
I am doing lovely. Thanks for having me on, Dani. I also need a shower, a shave, a haircut, a lobotomy, but yet my webcam is still on. It still works after last night, despite soaking it.
That was hilarious. What triggered it? Because you made a slight snort before you did it. So what triggered the snort? Because I listened back a few times. I was listening live, but
I'm gonna say what triggered it, but I'm gonna try not to go too much into depth because what triggered it was an event got brought up on the pod kind of surreptitiously that was not meant to be brought up on the podcast. And it was my own fault that it was brought up. And the second I realized what was happening, I took a sip of the beverage that I had at the time and immediately coughed. And, you know, if you're a WWE fan, you know kind of what Triple H's old entrance was.
Yeah.
It was a perfectly timed spit of an entire bottle of water, and it looked super cool. What I did last night was not super cool in any way, shape, or form. But you know, check out our Twitter because I've snipped down like just those 3 or 4 seconds of the podcast, and how my computer is still operational, I have no idea. It's a lot of liquid. It's like all the weeing that you just told us that you did, except it came out of my mouth.
Yes. Some unknown reason, people, I've been awake since about 4 o'clock and I've weed 2.5 litres. I did go to sleep.
4 o'clock in the afternoon, that is.
That's it. Yeah, I did. I got electric bed. I put my feet up in the air and I get bloaty feet because of the medication I'm on. And so it was like having Wellingtons full of custard at time with my feet. So I think I've drained it all. I think I've lost about 3 stone in 8. Anyway, you've been a busy boy, Mike. You've done some interesting shows. You had you did the show with Owen and Tom. Then you did the show with Owen and Tom and Chig, all very good shows. And then today you had Mr. Lee Gunner on your show, and
that was not an intentional arc of programming. Let's say this is the official thing of arc for programming. This isn't diving for a penalty. No. This is I mean,
might get hard for it.
The intent is to step up our content a little bit in March. I've got a combination of both family and work, a light month in both areas. Let's put it that way. My wife is helping her parents move down in Florida, so there's not a whole lot of responsibilities to either family or to work this month. So I decided to plug my energy into putting out some additional content, and was planning on taking a day off and just coming on your show and another one later on until a certain, I won't call it an opportunity, presented itself to me, but it's something I felt needed to be done. So I'm enjoying it. If we were losing every single game, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm like Aubameyang. When we lose a game, I don't feel like talking about it afterwards. When we win a game, I don't want to stop talking about it afterwards. So I slate him for that, but it's other people's jobs to slate me for that. But yeah, we've been prolific lately.
Yes, we've brought back the preview show because I enjoy doing it, and the Loan Watch because the man here, Stefan Selby, he loves the Loan Watch, and it used to be part of the podcast, but often when we did the podcast, people would fall asleep during Loan Watch, and they demanded that I stop doing it. So I do it on its own. It takes me an hour to write. Because I was sitting there about a month ago, and I thought, I don't know anything about any of our loan players. And for years, I've gone on about Smith Rowe and Nketiah and Nelson and all these people. And I thought, I don't know what they're doing anymore. So I had a look at it, and I thought, I might as well bring it back. It only takes, the one I did the other day was 9.5 minutes. Wow, it's the quickest I've ever done anything in my life.
That's a lie.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
But it's just nice to do more stuff. So yeah, where can people find your show if they want to come and watch you? Because you should subscribe. I watch everything you do. I prefer it when Andy's on, but he's a bad.
I prefer it when Andy's on too, but you can't get the guy's attention these days. He's he's upwardly mobile. He's just banging just tons of poon, as he puts it, and so we can't get him on. But there's been no breakup. there's no moving on. We've added a third to our relationship, which is pretty kinky.
Is that Ian?
That would be Ian, aka Owen. That's for the accent credibility with football, because even though Andy's English, he sounds more American than I do sometimes. So we needed some credibility finally after 4.5 seasons of doing this, and so we brought in Owen. But what was the question? Oh, where can they find us? On Twitter. On Twitter, it's at the Gooners Pod. We promote most of the stuff there. If you want to go check out our YouTube page, you can go to. We actually set something up where you can go to www.goonersubscribe.com, and it takes you right to our YouTube channel. You don't have to do all those extra steps that that I would be too lazy to do if I were trying to watch a podcast. So goonersubscribe.com. Check it out. Check out our library of past events. All the times that we've had Dani on, probably 20 to 30 times. Avoid those, but watch the rest of them.
Listen, there's a lot of nice people in the chat that we know. I'm actually 45 minutes through your League Gunner interview, and I said before the show started, I'm actually ashamed to admit that I agree with quite a lot of what he says, but I don't agree with the way that he goes about it. So
that was the entire premise. That was my entire premise. I mean, I started out the podcast by saying, it isn't about whether I agree with your stances or not. It's the method of communication. And look, I could be preachy sometimes, and I'm sure it came off that way. And I've got no moral standing to be any more preachy than anybody else. But the point of the entire thing is it's not necessarily what you think, it's how you communicate with people. And I don't know that nothing was resolved. Nothing will ever be resolved in this day and age when people have diametrically opposed views on things. But the one thing I don't think a lot of people do hear from him who don't like him are his views on things. He can dig his own grave pretty easily. You don't have to just take everyone else's word for it. So
Soares put a question in the chat, but Mike's doing a show later tonight, and are we allowed to say who your guests are tomorrow night, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow's we're doing our second annual FA Cup of football phrases. My favorite thing in the world are phrases like pulling up trees and sixes and sevens and diabolical. Just the it's like when you become a football commentator in England, you have to just basically brush up on these phrases, and I absolutely love them, which is where the bell came from in our podcast. But we're doing a whole elimination tournament. We did one last May with Kevin Campbell and Lee Judges, and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to add some phrases. We're going to take some out. We're going to do another elimination tournament with you, Dan Potts, and Owen. And then the chat will be kind of our tie-breaking vote on who moves forward. So
it's 9 o'clock tomorrow night, isn't it?
9 o'clock UK tomorrow night. It should be fun. And it should have very, very little to do with Arsenal, which is just a dream come true.
So Si's asked a question about the League Gunner pod. If he wants to hear the answer to that, where should he go? Will you answer that tomorrow or tonight or on another show? Because I don't want to take everyone. Go and watch the show. Go and watch the League Gunner one, and then
make up your own mind on stuff. I mean, I tried to be level-headed about it and not get too personal or not get baited into it, into the normal kind of back and forth that we would otherwise normally have. But make up your own mind. I think everybody will probably find a different way of taking the way that the dialogue went, and that's kind of what it's all about. So,
right, I've got that out of the way. Introduced our guest. Talk a little bit about your show, Carl. Let's talk about not just the Benfica game, but the two legs overall. Your thoughts on our performance on the night, and did you think it was all over? Because although we did do a show after it, we didn't do one after the Leicester, so we'll come up to that. But yeah, what did you think about it? And then possibly what do you think about we got Olympiacos again, Carl? Are you excited?
Well, we made it hard for ourselves, didn't we? But it wouldn't be Arsenal if we didn't make it hard for ourselves. I think it's more the entertainment value. We want to keep the fans on the edge of our seats. At the moment, the UK can't go to any cinemas or movies. So, we need a blockbuster thriller where you never know what the ending's going to be, do you? So I think that's what we did. Like I said, I think we made it hard for ourselves. It didn't have to be the way it did. After the first leg, really truly, we should have taken care of it from the first leg, and unfortunately we didn't. And then the second leg came round, and you think everything's all rosy, and then we go and go and concede, and you think to yourself, really, like, are we really going to go out in this round in a game where maybe Arsenal found it too easy? I think you look at the team, and we should have easily beaten Benfica. Let's face it, they're not the Benfica of old, not the Benfica who had all them wonderful players. They had a reject Spurs player playing at centre back. So, and really and truly, there was no quote unquote household names playing for Benfica. So you think to yourself, we really should have beat them. But as Arsenal do, we didn't take our chances. We created loads, but unfortunately, we wasn't able to put the ball in the back of the net, which has been kind of a feature of Arsenal's whole season. We just haven't managed to create our score our chances that we've created, and unfortunately, it almost we always came unstuck. But lovely Saka to our talisman and Mbappe. Who the fuck do I think I am?
We signed Mbappe.
I know, fucking exclusive.
I didn't vote.
To Aubameyang, and we just it was. Listen, I'm always going to celebrate an Arsenal victory, and I think it was brilliant that we came back from behind and we managed to score and get through to the next rounds. But life didn't need to be so hard. Life didn't need to come out like that. It was just kind of annoying, because what should have been a routine victory for us in the quote unquote home/away leg, it just made life hard for us. And was it skill that we managed to come back from behind? Was it luck? Combination of the two. Personally, I don't really care as long as we went through. It doesn't really matter. But it's just, I don't know. It was heart in mouth moments at the time. I mean, Mike, did you watch the game? How did you feel like when the minutes were counted down and we were behind?
Oh, it's dreadful. I mean, the opposite of how I felt the last 15 minutes of the game on Sunday, but against a team that, I mean, it's flip-flop from what you should have expected. I mean, teams in this stage, and Benfica's no pushover. I mean, this isn't like a group stage Europa game against Dundalk where it's like just a matter of time. They're a tough opponent who just didn't really play very well in either of the two, well, especially in the first leg. But I mean, when we went down to the third out of 3 goals allowed that were basically down to individual errors or luck, the first one, handball, really in their only attack. The second one, the Ceballos nightmare show for 2 goals. I mean, at that point, it's that sinking feeling of we've done it again. And I hate it. By the same token, the 7 minutes after we scored the winner, the eventual winner, were probably the most painful, because not only, is it one of those rare situations in football where one goal flips the entire outcome. It doesn't just drop 2 points or gain 2 points. It flips the entire ability to be in the tournament. It was just such deja vu from last year against Olympiacos. Speaking of deja vu, same thing happened. I think we were on top, and then with an injury time gave up, and it almost happened again. So too much stress for a Europa League round of 32 game against an underperforming Benfica side. Way too much stress. But in the end, it's one of those things where the stress almost makes it better in the end if you just look at the experience. Because, and I've said this on our podcast, so it's a little bit redundant, but my son he's not homeschooled, but he's at home for school right now because of COVID. And he had a break in his classes that pretty much spanned the last 15 minutes of the game. And we were miserable together. And then when the goal went in, it was like we had just won the Champions League. I mean, those moments are few and far between these days with Arsenal, where we kind of clutch success out of the jaws of failure. So, my feedback on that game was a little more biased because I was just so happy in the moment, but it should have never come to that. It never should have come to that.
Very true. It seems to be what we do, but it's just Ceballos made an error, and we can forgive him for that. So that's the Benfica game out of the way, Carl. Nose are just put in there. It seems like we play them every season, Olympiacos, that is. We've met them 6 times, including this upcoming fixture, in 12 seasons, Carl. We've played 10, won 5, lost 5, scored 16, conceded 13. So been quite similar. If you look back through Arsenal history, we made a joke about this last week that anybody who has got one game for Arsenal, you look back through Wikipedia, their career, it's usually against Olympiacos in the dead rubber in the Champions League. But the first time we played them was 9.
It's known as the Joel Campbell Invitational, I believe.
He got out. Lucky boy. 9-10, 2-0 at home, 1-0 away, we lost. Then 11-12, 2-1 at home, 3-1, we lost away. 12-13, 3-1 at home, again, lost away 2-1. And then 15-16, our last Champions League season, if anyone can remember that. Oh, great day. I think it was. And then we lost 3-2 at home, but we won 3-0 away.
I was at that game, which was one of my best footballing experiences, because we needed to win that game by, I think, 2 or 3 clear goals. It was my on a lesser scale, it was my makeup for not being at Anfield 89. We had to win by 2 clear goals, and we did it.
You went to Greece?
Yeah, I was at the Giroud hat trick game, and we needed to win by 2 clear goals for it to not be the first time we were knocked out of the group stages in like 16 or 17 years. Which again, this is a problem now that we would be embarrassed to have had at that point. We'd love to have at this point, but yeah, that was a dramatic game, but a great trip, and the crowd, both Olympiacos and Arsenal supporters that night, were just ridiculous in a good way.
Good, yes. Must have been lovely weather. And then last season, we beat them 1-0 away, like Mike was saying, and then we lost 2-1 at home. And I vaguely remember it was they scored first, and then it went into extra time. Then they scored 2. They scored another one in extra time.
Leno kicked the ball out with the back line when he didn't need to, which gave them a corner, and we conceded with like no time left, and then almost pulled it back on the other end in like the 89th minute of extra time. Yeah. So
I think I've got an actual, you wouldn't be surprised, dear listener, I have a database that I've done of every single European game we've ever played, broken down to country and then individual clubs. And yeah, we've not done too well against these ones. Carl, how do you think this game's going to go? I know we're not going to go into it too much detail, but we are playing them on Thursday and then the Thursday after that. What do you expect? I think, does anyone know if we're home or away? Actually, I do know because I've written down our fixtures, Carl. It's Olympiacos away first. So what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, it's always good to get the away leg first, isn't it? Well, personally, I think it is, because you kind of know what you need to do when you bring the game home. But this is Arsenal, so we don't know. I'm hoping that in the back of the players' minds, they're thinking that we've got to exact revenge for what happened last season. We've got to play better. We can't think that we can just turn up. I think, as normal, I think when Arsenal play a club who they think are at a lesser stature than them, they think they can just turn up and get the result. And unfortunately, football's not like that anymore. Football's not, gone the days where we would beat teams by standing in the tunnel, looking at them and, automatically going to get the victory. These days, there's no such thing as a poor team in Europe. Kind of goes to show, even in the Europa League, there's teams that scored against us. I mean, look, Dundalk scored against Arsenal, and you would have thought that was never going to happen, a bunch of part-timers, but shit, it happened, didn't it? So I'm hoping for a better result than last time, and even if we go out there and win, it goes to show that we still need to put up our concentration to when we come back to the Emirates. It's got to be better than last year. Last year was really bad. We were in a bit of a slump. Arteta, for me, just didn't, the tactics wasn't right, and he's got to look back at that game and he's got to learn from his mistake. He's got to learn that we just got to play better, and I hope that we do have a fit squad, and we'll probably come on to Smith Rowe later, and I'm hoping he's got a lot of people available to him and he picks the right players, and even the players perform well. We can't just have players going out there and thinking, oh, it's only Olympiacos. No, we're bound to win, because all you got to do is just play them the tape from last year and say, well, look what happened. This is what happened last season. So you've got to play better. So I'm hoping for an Arsenal victory, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't win. It's always, it's Arsenal, and you're never confident with Arsenal ever.
And before we go on, Jashar is a new member. He joined. He gave us some of his dollary dues. We stuffed them down Chris's pants, and that's why Chris has buggered off. He's taken all your money, Jashar. Thank you very much for becoming a member. I hope you think you're getting your money's worth. Are you not listening to the Lone Watch? Do you watch them and the preview shows? Oddly, we get a higher viewing percentage when we do shorter shows. So if we made this 5 minutes, Carl, people might watch all of it. I think normally for these shows, people listen to about 35%.
I'm ready to wrap up right now if you are. So.
Right.
Can I say some things about Olympiacos?
Hold on, I've got a question for you in a second. Carl, do you think we're going to... You can't predict home and away scores, but do you think we'll go through?
Yeah, I think we should go through, and it's not going to be comfortable. I'm not going to say we're going to do them 3-0 at home and then 5-0 away. It's not going to be like that. But I think that we should have enough about us. And I think either side of the Olympiacos game, isn't it? I want to say
Spurs in between.
Yeah, Spurs. So
just
that's not. It's not going to be easy. And if we can get like all 3 wins, I'll take that. But just a very quick question to both of you: would you take a Spurs win and Olympiacos loss, or Olympiacos win and the Spurs loss? Which one would you do?
I don't know. I would refuse to answer your question, and I'll say I want to win all 3. That's my answer. You're not having your mind games with me, Mr. Walker.
No, it's not how the game works, Danny. That's not how the game works.
In your chair, in your whites, and in the middle of the summer, with your shades on, looking all cool and relaxed.
That's not how the game works. You have to answer the question.
I'm gonna give the proper ard.
League, obviously.
I don't want to be accused of anything. So we're not winning the Europa League anyway this year. So whether we go out in the round of 16 or the semifinals, we beat Spurs. That's what matters to me. I'm not suggesting lineup rotation. I'm just saying if your hypothetical scenario comes through, we beat Spurs. Sorry.
Terrible. Horrible question.
I'm a real Arsenal fan. I would never.
You've never even been to higher.
By the way, I'm being sarcastic. I hate that.
Right, Mike. Question for you. Just looking at Olympiacos' last game, they went to NFC Volos and won 2-1. They got a couple of players we might have heard of, Jan and Villa. And
we're finally going to be on the same pitch as him.
Yes, finally. He'll probably swap shirts at the end and then claim asylum at the Arsenal. And the other one is Matthew Valbuena, who's another decent player. And plus a certain Socrates Papadopoulos.
They've got some good players, and they're basically
39th minute.
They're tearing through the Greek league right now. The last 2 seasons, they're not kind of having a wobble like Benfica has been in their own league. So they're good. I mean, fortunately, it's 2 home games for us because we have lately been feeling very comfortable in their place. The things that make me feel better about this and the things that make me feel worse are the toughest thing about playing Olympiacos is going to Olympiacos. Even though we won there last year and lost at home, I know that doesn't really push my narrative, but that place is intimidating to go to, and without supporters there, it ought not to be as bad. And so I think we've got a chance to steal a goal or 2 on the road. On the road, did I just say that? Away from home. You mentioned a guy that scares the hell out of me, and he's been around forever. He's, I guess, 36 years old at this point, 37 almost, but probably the best taker of a corner kick in the entire history of football, Matthew Valbuena. I've never seen him not hit the man he was intending to hit on corner kicks. I'm sure that I could be proven wrong on that, but we need to be real careful on set pieces because that's not exactly our strong point. If we end up conceding goals to Olympiacos, it's going to be that way, in my opinion. Apparently, Ruben Semedo, who's one of the other big name guys, is not going to be playing, so we will probably see Papadopoulos and not Ruben Semedo, which I think is a good thing for us.
Just looking at the league position, they are 14 points clear at the top of the Greek Super League, and they've lost 1 game all season. They concede in 1 goal every other game, and they're scoring 2.5 goals every game, 48. About 2.3 goals per game. But they've got the top goal scorer in the league, a Mr. Y.L. Arabi with 17 goals. So I think I'm glad that we have the away leg second. Well, where are they going to be played?
No, we have the home. We're in Greece first, home second, and it was supposed to be the same way for Spurs in their draw, except they flipped it around so that because apparently with no supporters in the stadium, you can't have two games in the same part of London.
Oh, it's nonsense.
2 hours apart from each other. That's
so where's
just
the game going to be held? Do we know that our home game? I take their game will be held there, but where's our home game going to be held?
It'll be at the Emirates for the same reason we went and played there. There's no travel restrictions between the UK and Greece. It's the other countries that's the issue.
Yeah.
So
okay, that's good.
Bizarre situation, but yeah, these should be proper home and away games.
So having the away leg, the second leg at home is going to be. I think that's going to be the point which could turn the game for us. Go there, and also the players that he's going to use are going to be really important. Would you believe, people? I hope everyone's sitting down. We have one player injured. Oh, that's only Smith Rowe with a dodgy hip. That's it. One injured player. I've never known that in all my years, and I've had quite a few years.
Danny, a lot can happen between now.
Don't you start.
No, but don't jinx it.
Exactly. You're jinxing it, Danny.
Well, let's get on to we've got a question here from Divyun. He has wrote an essay, and I think it's only fitting we should read it. He says, split in 3 messages. After we moved to the Emirates, we had no money to spend for a few seasons. Is it fair to say that by the time we had the money, we had no infrastructure to spend it? Well, Carl, you take that part.
I think that even though we had money to spend, unfortunately, I don't want to speak ill of the man, but we still had Arsene Wenger in charge who didn't want to spend any money. And the issue is, whereas we had all this money in the bank accruing interest, it wasn't doing anything good on the football pitch. And then suddenly, I don't know if you realize, it probably was about maybe 5 seasons, players' price tags just skyrocketed. For some unknown reason, a £20 million player was now costing you 40 to 50 million for some unknown reason. I mean, case in point, Mustafi was never in a million years a £35 million defender. Never. But
Valencia laughed at us. I mean, they literally had to put down the phone and laugh at us that we actually offered them that. We've heard that from multiple people who would know.
100%. It was ridiculous. Think about when we bought Mesut Ozil. Mesut Ozil was what, 40 million? I want to say. I can't remember.
42,
something on them lines.
42.5. I think.
42, and then we paid 35 for Mustafi. And you're talking about we paid 42 for the best number 10 in the world at that time. He was literally the best player in his position at that time. And we 40 million was nothing. But then seasons went on and we end up paying 35 million for Mustafi. So, and that's the problem. Players' wages players' price tags literally skyrocketed, and we got caught out. We literally got caught out of the market. And again, I'm not going to speak ill of the man because Arsene Wenger is gone and that era is finished. But whoever it was, whether it's Gazidis or Wenger or whoever who decided to buy players, we literally got caught out of the market. You think of all them players that Arsene Wenger says, oh, we could have got that player, but they didn't want to pay the money for him. So unfortunately, it's
if we totaled up the price of all the cups of coffee he had with the families of world-class footballers that we didn't sign, we could have signed Mbappe by now.
Well, listen to this, right?
All the players.
I've gone, Carl. Sorry.
No. Go on, Danny. Sorry.
We moved into the Emirates. No, we moved into Ashburton Grove in July 2007. First game, Bergkamp's testimonial. Second game was, I think, Argentina v Brazil, which I was at both of those. Third game was...
Was it 06? Was it 06? Was it 07 or 06?
I was there. Which one was it? Does anybody know?
I didn't ask if you were there. I asked what year it was.
I mean, I can quantify it by saying I was there. Anyway, and then the third game was Aston Villa in the Premier League. And then I was there for the first ever time that we lost there, where we lost to West Ham.
Well, you're just ahead of your time, because if you thought it was 2007, you were a year ahead, and that's a credit to you.
So when did we move in there?
It was July 2000. You've got everything right except for the year, and I'm just a dick for not letting that just glide by.
No, you should have done, because it's more important that you tell me. So we moved in there in July 2000.
We literally moved right at there was the Wigan game, the final Wigan game at Highbury, the Champions League final, and then a month or two later we opened the new place. Who would know that at that point that was the literal height?
Well, it is important that you pointed it out, because the players that we bought that season, 2006-07, Abu Agogo from Wimbledon for free. Vincent van der Berg from Heverin, free. Nasser Passerait from Nijmegen for free.
I remember him.
Thomas Rosicky. Well, that was a decent signing, 6.8 million. Fran Merida from Barcelona, 2.3 million, failure. Joe O'Crill from Watford for free. Alex Song for $1 million. That turned out to be a decent deal. We got 15 when we sold him. Julio Batista, got him on loan. Denilson from Sao Paulo, who when it was announced, I went, God, we bought Denilson, one of the most creative players in it. Oh no, it's the sideways.
We always buy the wrong one. Like we bought the wrong Gabriel first, and then
that's it. And then we 3.4 million from Sao Paulo, and then I didn't realize we bought William Gallas as soon as we moved there. Final day of the transfer window, we got him.
That was the summer that was the summer that Cole and Gallas, I think.
Really.
And then
And then we bought Arnold. We bought Arnold Neymar. We thought it was a great purchase at the time, but it was the wrong Neymar.
And Rui Fonte from Sporting Lisbon. So getting back to Vivian's question, we moved and then have all of those players at the time. Only Thomas Rosicky and Gallas went straight into the team. Denilson worked his way into it. Song over in the next couple of years worked his way into it. And then you look at the next season, players that we bought that ready for the first team, Eduardo and Sanya. And that's it. We got Diarra, but he got the ump and left straight away. So 2 in the first season, 2 in the second season, none of them world-class signings. The third season was probably our first big 2 buys. We bought Andre Arshavin for 16.8 million. And then we've got Sami Nasri for 15.8 and a little Welshman called Aaron Ramsey. And then we topped that off with a lovely Mikel Silvestri. So only into our third season there did we buy players that were the best player in their country or for their country, with Nasri, who turned out to be one of the best in our Emirates time, and Arshavin, who it didn't really work out. We had some great times with him. So that question that Divian put there is quite important.
I would add the word properly to the end of the question, and then it's the perfect question.
Think about it, Dani. Do you remember the season where we bought in Czech and we only bought in Czech and we were screaming, literally crying out for a strike? Was it a striker we was crying out for, or a central defender? But it was. I think it was like a number 6 type.
It was a DM, but we were
a DM, and then that was that the year that Leicester ended up winning the league.
Yeah, and we were crying out, and we only bought in Czech, and literally everyone else could see that we needed another player apart from Arsenal, and we could have won the league that season. Not going to say easily, because Leicester were on a roll.
I always wonder that because, how could you make Leicester lose more than? I mean, we beat them 2 out of the 3 games. So people always say that we should have won that season. We would have essentially had to. I mean, I know that there's draws, but I mean, we would have had to have won all but 2 or 3 games that season and been. It wasn't wide open for us. It was wide open for second. But Leicester played the perfect season. So I always wonder when people are like, just because it's Leicester that they won, they played, they stayed healthy, they played, they won every game that was in front of them except for 1 against Liverpool and 2 against us. So what more could we really have done other than gotten closer to them?
But do you think if we were closer, we would have put more pressure on?
That's true. That's true.
It's the whole pressure thing. But if you got Arsenal chasing you're neck and neck with them, and Arsenal play an early game, and then you think to yourself, let's just say, we've got to win our next game, and then they end up. Do you know what I mean? It's all we had in our
fingertips. We had in our fingertips after we beat them on Valentine's Day. I mean, we were 2 points, I think, away from them at that point, and everyone was just like, okay, well, Leicester's done. We're going to take it, and that's actually the season where I basically turned on Arsene Wenger internally and said these players are not playing for him, because I think a few weeks after that game, we went and gave Rashford his debut with 2 goals. Then we came home and lost to Swansea, which was unexcusable, and got knocked out of the FA Cup by Watford. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. And then, of course, we won an FA Cup against Chelsea, I think, at that point. Maybe I'm mixing seasons up a bit here, but
there's no harm in mixing years up in front.
Yeah, I've got the Danny disease now.
Right. But I think even we lost to their Carl. 14 games
I was just going to say,
I
remember that was the season that I turned on Olivier Giroud. I remember that when he never scored in 14 games. I remember thinking, this is absolutely shocking. That for a striker to not score in 14 games. And let's not make it clear, those 14 games, I think he probably played 90 minutes almost every single one of those games. And that for me was
I love
unforgivable.
Olivier Giroud. I love Olivier Giroud, but that was a really rough patch. I mean, he brought so much, and he has so much of a unique ability that he brings to the game. I've always highly rated him. I thought he was as responsible for our FA Cup victories as Aaron Ramsey was, and and so there's no one probably that enjoyed Olivier Giroud that wasn't because of how hot he was more than me. But that rough patch, I mean, you'd be well within your rights to have basically just turned on him at that point, because that's when we needed him the most.
Yeah, and he at the time, that was when Mesut Ozil was in his pomp, and Mesut Ozil was literally giving the ball to him on a plate. I mean, I'm not going to say that he missed open goals and that every single game, because that's ridiculous to say, but we had the greatest number 10 at that time, and he was flying at that time, Mesut Ozil, and he was giving passes to Giroud left, right, and centre, and for some other reason just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net for whatever reason. I mean, shit happens, unfortunately. However, I still think that the season, if we was going to win the Premier League in any season, it was going to be that season. And unfortunately, even to come second, that was always a false second, wasn't it? Because we were behind that lot from up the road so long, and obviously they had a capitulation, and then they lost
5-1 against
5-0 against Newcastle, and then we snuck in.
They lost 5-1 against 10-man Newcastle that day, would have been the day. I just didn't go to the pub that day because I'm like, there's nothing to go for it, and our pub actually has a little corner in it where some of the Spurs fans get together. That would have been the day to be at the pub, because all the games were at the same time, and while we were beating, I think, West Brom maybe or something like that, Newcastle with 10 men were just putting it to. I mean, that kind of almost made it all right, but again, second place is second place. That season and the one with Eduardo getting his leg broken against Birmingham were the 2 years that we really should have moved on and won it in the Emirates era, and we're just so far away from that right now. So far.
Let's get on to the second part. I've just been going and getting listeners' questions from our Twitter. Right, I've got so many windows open here. Divion then has a second part to his question. It says, we had no relationship with any agents, and in fact, Wenger made a point of not dealing with the super agents and ended up making a few stat-based signings like Xhaka, Mustafi and Gabriel, and I think I'd add Lucas Perez to that, was another one that I think did Wenger sport him and never even saw him play, who didn't work out. And then I think the third part of Divion's question, he's got lovely hair in that picture. Wish I had hair. Then we swang the other way like a pendulum and become too reliant on agents. Do you think the club has the right balance now, and can we expect better transfers now, Carl?
Only time will tell. Unfortunately, that's an impossible question to answer. You look at the recent signings, and I'm sure we'll talk about him probably very soon. But Willian, that was a super agent signing, wasn't it? Cedric, another super agent signing. So we have got kind of close links to quote unquote super agents. Whether it's the right super agents, who knows? But you have to have a relationship with them. If you want to sign the best players, you have to have a relationship with agents, because agents don't care where their players play, just as long as they got a good deal. They couldn't care less. Like if Mino Raiola would have Paul Pogba playing in flipping Siberia, if he thought that he could get a decent price for him, and they would pay him, I'm sure Siberia FC would give Paul Pogba, a couple of fish every day. But shit, who knows? But and then they don't care who they play for, as long as they get a decent wage. And if we want to sign the best players, you have to go through the agent. I mean, most deals now are done with the agents before they even talk to the selling club. As long as you can agree a deal with the agent, and then you go to the selling club and then figure out how much you're going to pay for this player, because no club is going to bid for a player not knowing if the player is going to come to them or not. It's redundant. So they sort out the deals first, then they go to the club. So yeah, time will tell. Whatever Arsenal's new model is in buying players, I don't know what they're going to look for. Are they looking for youth? Are they looking for experience? Are they looking for talent, name brand talented players? You know, the big players. Are they looking for homegrown players? Who knows? Time will tell when we start buying players in June, July, and August. So we'll see what happens. But you know what? As long as Arsenal buy the right players, like the bearded one, John Welsh says, I don't care how much they spend on players. It's not my money. They can spend 100 million. They could spend £20 on players. I don't care. It's not my money. Just as long as the players that they bring in are the right ones for the club.
We've got a couple of Olympiacos fans in the chat. Hello, Olympiacos fans. I'd like to live in Greece because it's nice and warm and you eat a lot of meat.
The food. The food is so good.
Everything is either meat or sugar-based puddings, and I would be I'd explode.
Fried cheese, my friend. Just
two
words. Fried cheese. I forget what the word is for it there, but the last time I was there, which was Christmas before last, I had probably 8 things of fried cheese, and then we went from Greece to London, and I didn't shit the entire time I was in London. I had the opposite of what you were describing with your urinary function. It was convenient because it allowed me to stay at the pub longer.
I'm so far behind in the chat. Wow. Hope the Olympiacos fans haven't gone. Yeah, I like Olympiacos. If you are still there, Olympiacos fans, are you glad that you got Socrates back? And one of them said that he thinks the school. He's got it on there. I don't know what that name is in English. I've done a Google Translate, and it just comes up with the same thing. And this person says it'll be 2-0 at Olympiacos and 1-0 at Arsenal. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the result. They are flying in their league and doing really well. That's you talking about bloody Sutton. I nearly highlighted that. Right. Oh yeah, that's it. Avon Baklava. Looks lovely. A couple of times I've stopped it. Yeah, Bulgarian says, let's stop chatting. Dani has to catch up. Doesn't he done another podcast? He's done a couple now, hasn't he? Was he on with you?
Yeah, we did a kind of like a impromptu post-game. Mike has probably had a few too many type of podcast.
One of them.
Gave out the StreamYard link in the chat, and the goal was to get Drago to come on, do a face reveal, and he's a lovely, lovely man.
I don't watch when you're drunk because it scares me. I think you're either going to get naked or beat me up or try and make sweet love to me. It's going to be one of the three. Through a screen.
So what you're saying is the last pod you watched was like in 2018?
Yeah, and I'm not coming back for it anymore. Oh, look at us waffling away like old women. Right, I've sorted out some of the questions from the listeners. The Leicester game. Oh, Carl, the Leicester game. I only just watched because I'm not getting out of bed at midday to watch Arsenal play. We need someone to do the show on Sunday, 12:30 kickoff. I won't be doing it. I'm not getting up. I can't just get up at 12:30 because I don't usually go to bed till 7, 8, 9 in the morning, and I'm not having 3 hours sleep. So the Leicester game, Carl. The last 5 games at Leicester in the Premier League, lost 2-0, lost 3-0, lost 3-1, 0-0, and then we had the 5-2 where we should have won the league. So what was your thoughts on the game? And I'm just trying to think of anything that happened in the game. I suppose Willian, talk about Willian and Pepe, because my good God, it seems that they have clicked. I mean, we've seen signs that Pepe was happy and he's running with his head up and he's playing good stuff. But those two were fantastic, weren't they?
Yes, they were. I mean, 6 minutes in, I wasn't very positive. I think the mistake was very... What made me more angry is that we considered an early goal again, and Arsenal don't do too well coming from behind. And I don't know if you read the messages in our group, Dani, and it was doom and gloom, and Chris Carpenter was just doom and gloom.
Well, that's unlike him.
I know, he's like, we're gonna lose, blah blah blah, and I was just like, you know what, it's a shit mistake, but let's see what happens in it. Even from the team, someone saw Willian on the team and just straight away, for fuck's sake, we're going to lose, blah, blah, blah. I'm not Willian's biggest fan. I'll openly admit that I'm not Willian's biggest fan. But,
who is Willian's biggest? I mean, like, other than his mom, like I'll tell you, there's a guy that's about to be walking around with an Arsenal Willian shirt, though. And I'll explain that.
Yes. So you gave a shirt away, didn't you?
Yeah, Willian cost me £100. God
yeah, next time you need to stop fucking drunk tweeting. Go on, Carl, carry on.
So if I'm going to criticize Willian for when he plays bad, I'm going to give him praise and credit for when he plays well. And Willian played well that game. It's weird. He started running fast, and he almost came to think like, oh, if I run, then I'm able to do stuff. And it was just he was able to get up and down the wing, and he set up a goal. Actually, no, the assist didn't go to him, did it? Because it was a shot come cross. So I don't think he got credit with the assist, unfortunately. However, Willian decided that this is the game that turns it around, and I'm happy for him. Like I said, if I'm going to criticize him when he doesn't play well, I'm going to praise him when he plays well, and he done well. He really did. On the Pepe thing, I'm going to be controversial, and I don't know who agrees with me here. Pepe played well because Hector Bellerin wasn't on the pitch running into the spaces that he occupies. And I sent out a tweet sort of from the pod account saying that, am I being controversial if I say that?
Doing those tweets?
Yes, it is me. Fuck
You're
off.
You're doing a bloody good job.
Thank you.
You thought you were about to get flagged off.
I did like a naughty schoolboy. I was like,
you've got a promotion. Is that you with your hand in the cookie jar? Good job. I was trying to get rid of those.
I retweeted it yesterday and went, I don't know who's doing these tweets. I've not done any of this good in years. I was asking Josh who's doing it. I had no idea. He suggested it might be you, though. But yeah, carry on, Carl. They were brilliant.
So I think that because Hector Bellerin wasn't on the pitch running into the same spaces that Pepe occupies, and they don't work well together. Pepe and Hector Bellerin don't work well together. But Cedric, I'm not going to say he had an amazing game because he didn't have an amazing game, but he played well. For the third goal that we scored, he's the one that dragged the two players away and created the space. So for me, Cedric, Pepe, not have an understanding, but I think Cedric is just a bit more experienced to know what he needs to do. And that's why I think Pepe flourished. I think Pepe flourished because he knew that Cedric was behind him. And yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't need to track back, but I think he was more aware that he's got a proper defender behind him who knows what to do, who knows when to go forward, who knows when to stay back, who knows how to create space and not run into the same space that he's occupying, because Hector Bellerin tend to do that a lot. So yeah, I am happy. I don't know if you agree with me, Mike. Do you think that Pepe flourished because
my head is about to fall off from nodding at what you're saying, and when Pepe was thought to basically have rediscovered himself by playing on the left side instead of the right, can you tell me, Carl, who was the fullback on the left side during those games?
It was Mr. Cedric.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've said that I'm not tactically inclined. I can't even say the word tactic. That's how bad I am. I just look at what I see and then kind of wait for people who are much smarter than I am to point things out. But between you and others, I mean, it's not controversial at all. It doesn't cover Bellerin in glory. But it's not controversial to say that there is a trend emerging with Pepe's performances, and there's pretty much one situation where it doesn't work, and then there's other situations where it does. So no, I think you're spot on, and I don't know whether Cedric starting over Bellerin was a rotation decision from Arteta or a who deserves to be playing decision now that Tierney's finally back and we don't have to worry about that until the next time we have to worry about it. But I guess we'll find out on Saturday whether that was rotation or not. I hope he has come to the understanding that Pepe is undroppable right now, but has to be playing in front of Cedric, and that leaves Bellerin out. So be it.
Yeah, good. Looking at the game, I only saw the highlights of the game on Match of the Day last night, and I was quite impressed. I thought Tierney was massively out of position, but when you get a player for the first goal, well, yeah, their goal. But when you get someone who is almost playing, not even a wing back, it goes left back, wing back, left midfield, left winger. Is there a position between left wing back and left winger? Because we're calling it the Kieran. Someone had to go at me because I say Tierney wrong. Because I'm not even sure. How are you meant to say it, Carl?
Tierney.
Am I putting an R in there?
Yeah, it's Tierney.
Tierney. Anyway, Kieran, so that's that new position. So that was really good. And then we had the penalty shout, which was very, very close. And Pepe, we have all said for ages that when Pepe runs at you, people shit their pants. It reminds me almost of when Henry used to run at people. They thought, well, he's going to get past me with speed or skills, and I can't bring him down. And they brought him down 2 or 3 times during the game. We got a free kick, or was it him they brought down? We got the penalty that Lacazette took. I think it might have been. And then to go on to Willian.
That was handball, wasn't it?
That was a handball. I was thinking, I was like, wasn't that a handball?
Oh, there was another handball as well, wasn't there?
The penalty that was Pepe, wasn't it?
Well, there you go then. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. And then there should have been another penalty for a definite handball. The bloke had his arm up in the air. But talking about Willian, Carl, it's not like we're going, oh, Willian's turned out to be pretty good. We all knew, much like Aubameyang and his dry spell, we all knew that Willian Willian would eventually show what he can do. But it's just when you sign a new player, you kind of give them a little bit of leeway, but not someone who's a Brazilian international, been playing in the Premier League for 8 seasons. You expect them to come in and do what they do straight away.
They told us that he had to come in and hit that. The reason they signed him was to hit the ground running.
Yeah,
and then a month later they said you got to give him some time.
Yeah.
But it's good to see it, though, isn't it, Carl? It's good to see.
Listen, I want all Arsenal players to do well. Like there's never an Arsenal player that I don't want to do well. I want every Arsenal player to flourish and succeed. And he's had a bad start. There's no way you can say that he has a very bad start. I think he's got 2 assists in how many odd games, which is not good enough. Let's be very honest, it's not. But like you said, it's a player that's probably coming to a new team, new system, new way of working. And a lot of people will say, well, no, it's just playing football, it's just kicking the ball. But if you're being asked to do something different, for 8 years at Chelsea, you've been asked to do a certain job, and then you come into Arsenal, new training regimes, new training tactics, and you're being told, oh, can we do it another way? It's not always easy. You don't know what else is going on. This is a really bad time as well. You don't know what could have happened in his life that could have affected him. We don't know everything. Everything's out in the open. So, there's a numerous, and maybe I'm making excuses for him, but at the end of the day, his last 2 games, he's done well. He done well in the Benfica game. He done well in this game, in Leicester game. So, as far as I'm concerned, he's playing well at present. So hopefully it continues. And, this is a running now between now and the end of the season that we are going to need all our players to step up a little bit. If we want to climb that table and try and finish as high up as the table as humanly possible and try and win the Europa League, whether we can do any of those things, whether we can get to the top 6, top 4, who knows? This league is such a topsy-turvy league at the moment. It's just ridiculous. Anything is possible, but, whether it's likely that we're going to get into the top 4, I'd probably say no. But if we can finish as high up as this table as possible, because the league for me is the bread and butter, then we're going to need all our players, every single one of them. And I hopefully that this is a sort of a turning point for Willian, and he can go on and flourish and, show some form and do some brilliant things for us.
Willian was Chelsea's player of the season last year. Am I wrong about that? And I mean, I think that's true. I could be wrong, but his issues this season have not been lack of quality in and of itself. I mean, I don't care if you're Aubameyang, Mesut Ozil, Willian, you do not sign a contract or make a change and suddenly forget how to play football. You have something that happens up here. And some people, consummate professionals, Cristiano Ronaldo moving from Real Madrid to Juventus. Sometimes you look at a new challenge and you say, I'm gonna attack this with everything I have. Other times you say, you know what, I've earned this position. I'm 32 years old. Someone's just paid me, and I'm gonna kind of take my time doing my thing. And when even if you put forth the same amount of effort from the start, you're going to have lost something. And it just seemed to me like Willian, for all of the play that he got earlier this season, which was way too much for way too long, just felt like he didn't really have to reinvent himself. He didn't really have to integrate into the team. He could just do what Willian had done for Chelsea, and everyone else would have to work around him. And to me, it's taken way too long for him to shed that mentality, and we don't fully know that he has. But the last game and a half that he's played certainly shows that he still has the ability. He's got the capability to put in a good shift, and it's just all going to come down to whether he truly buys in to what's trying to go on here or not, and won't need to play every single game, because we have players who are hungrier and younger that should probably be playing ahead of him. But all of these guys have the skill and the capability. Not all of them have the desire.
Carl, the Emile Smith-Rowe, as he came off, he was quoted as saying, "I cannot continue playing." That's quite worrying, isn't it? It's apparently he's
He said that?
Yeah, he said it to I think he said it to Arteta when he was coming off.
Okay, in that game or just like in general?
As he was coming off, I think. I thought it was an interview quote, but then I looked at. I think he said it to him at Arteta. Is that right, Carl?
Yeah, I believe that. Obviously, when the physio is obviously speaking to him and he's come to the pitch, so they can't continue playing. People know their body. People know, when they can and can't go on and play. And unfortunately, he's obviously felt something go. And it's like when you hurt your back, for a fact that you've done something, and footballers, they're finely tuned athletes. They know how their body should feel. Unfortunately, Emile Smith-Rowe's probably had this injury before and know what it feels like. He's probably just thought, shit, I can't continue at all. So, obviously they probably had the scan by now, and obviously the results haven't been released to the press. I don't think Arteta's due a press conference until probably Friday or even Saturday before we play Burnley. So we won't know for a week unless they decide to tell us maybe beforehand. So yeah, we're not. Oh, Saturday we're playing Burnley, isn't it? So we're not going to know probably until
Friday morning.
Thursday. Sorry, it's Thursday, isn't it? Because we're playing away. So the press conference is going to be Thursday. So yeah, that's when we're going to know. So I hope that he's not out for too long. I really do, because I think we have so much more energy when we play with Emile Smith-Rowe. Martin Odegaard, yes, he's or Odegaard, as if Dani doesn't come from me, he's a ready-win replacement for Emile Smith-Rowe, but I still would rather have Smith-Rowe there. And I really hope that he's not out for a very long time. But he's had some really bad injuries, and he's been out for a very long time. Sort of Emile Smith-Rowe. I don't want him to become a new Jack Wilshere. But let's hope that the scan results come back and it's only a minor injury, and he has a few weeks off and comes back bright as new.
If we did not have Martin Odegaard, Carl, would you basically be looking at this and saying our season's just ended?
Yes, 100%. Because you're looking at
crazy.
playing.
You got to hand it to Arsenal for bringing them in, then, because
100%. Like, no doubt. I remember people when we first brought him in, people were saying, "Oh, we're going to stop the development of Emile Smith-Rowe," and all that nonsense. But in this crazy season, people are falling left, right, and centre. Look at Leicester. Leicester have got Harvey Barnes. They've got Maddison out. They've got so many of their players out, and Leicester are going to come tumbling down that table. That's 100% certain.
I've said that about them, Everton, and West Ham. It equalizes. 38 games is 38 games. Your regression to the mean is certain to happen with them. So I agree with you. That's why I still think top 6 is definitely on, because those teams are just now running into the meat of the season and getting some injuries.
The whole league, you just look at Liverpool. They lost 4 home games in a row. And there's only one team here having their regular season, and that's Man City, with 19, soon to be 20 straight wins without even playing a striker. Football is a complete and utter. Sheffield United, bottom of the league, when last season they were one of the hardest teams to beat. West Ham were bottom of the league, and now they're pushing for the Champions League places. Spurs falling apart, everyone. So anybody who can just look at Arsenal and go, Arteta, you're shit. No, all of football is on its arse. The stat that there has been more away wins than home wins in the Premier League in total, that just shows you that football is broken. And I think Arsenal and Arteta are making a pretty good job of it, considering all the injuries you've got. But now, Carl, looking that we've got one player.
Not to be too toxically positive. I know somebody that would call you out for that attitude.
Well, it's a fact. I did a tweet the other day about it, and I see if I can go and find it. And I got quite a lot of people agreeing with me, and I got quite a lot of people that thought that said I was. One of them actually referred to me. I think he said I was an effing scumbag.
The funny thing is, he's right, but not for the right reason.
There we go. Me and Tom always
completely off base for calling you that for what you said, but he actually ended up being right in the end.
True. Me and Tom are always saying trust the process. So I put the process is coming together. Ozil's shit at Fenerbahce, Mustafi and Kola causing trouble at Schalke. Matteo acting like a child at Berlin. 3 wins and a draw in the last 5. Alba has 7 goals in his last 4 starts. Partey and Tierney are fit. Willian and Pepe have found some form. Oh, and Saka, love eyes. And I thought, there you go. That sums up our club at the moment.
Wrap him in cotton wool, please.
It's amazing what he's managing to do.
It was good that he got a rest on. It was good that he got. Sorry, one thing I want to bring up as well. So it's good that he got a rest on Sunday, which I think is great. But I guess we can talk about it now, Dani.
Go on.
You brought on Aubameyang with what was it, 8 minutes ago or something like that. So me and Josh kind of was speaking in the group, and I just said I don't understand why he brought on Aubameyang like for 8 minutes. To me, it makes no sense. I said there's no reason why you can't bring on Martinelli. Martinelli hasn't played in the last 4 games, 0 minutes, not a minute at all on the pitch. So Josh was saying, obviously, you got to play the player that's in form, which is Aubameyang. And I said, yeah, I get that, but I don't agree because we know what Aubameyang does. You give Aubameyang a full week off. Like, you want to wrap him up in cotton wool because he's going to play against Burnley, then he's going to play against Olympiacos, and then Spurs, and then Olympiacos again. You want him to play all those games, so you wrap him in cotton wool. You don't want to play him for 8 minutes where he can make a sprint and suddenly get injured. I said Martinelli has got to come on in that game. Like, how can you have a young player on the bench? And obviously he's fit because he's on the bench, so clearly there's no injury issues there. But if you've got a young player like that who have played 0 minutes in the last 4 games, I think it's silly. I mean, either I'm right and Josh is wrong. There's no other in between, to be honest.
Well, his last 5 Premier League games, it was an unused sub. He got 45 minutes against Man United, then unused sub. Then he got 8 minutes against Newcastle, ankle injury. Then he was an unused sub against the 4-0 West Brom, and then he started against Everton and he played 71 minutes, and then he got hold on, has that come on? Yeah, he got 71 minutes against Chelsea, and he had a patch of 3 games there where he played 19, 71 and 66 minutes. But for the last 7 games, he's been an unused sub 6 times and got half a game against Man United.
It's not nice just because he's a crybaby when he gets hurt. I'm just kidding, but Wolves have just equalized against City, by the way.
Woohoo!
Connor Cody off of a free kick, a header. That's
I want Man City to win that, and Wolves are near us in the league.
That's true. I'm just programmed to not to root for the underdog, but we could actually use Wolves losing. That's a good point.
Oh no, they've got -6 goal difference. We've got +7. So unless they win 15-0, they're not going above us.
The Martinelli quandary it's bizarre. I mean, to an extent, you can understand that he kind of rushed back from injury, played well, but had all these injury scares that looked a lot worse than they apparently were because of his reaction to them. But 6 games on the trot. There you go, Luke Howard. 6 games on the trot without playing when there were opportunities to certainly put him in that were relatively low risk doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it does make you start wondering, is he kind of on Arteta's shit list, and why and how did he get there?
It is a bit. That does kind of bring me on to another topic. I asked them to talk about this last week, and Josh said no. But you look at the number of players that Arteta has definitely fallen out with, Carl. He's fallen out with Ozil, Kolasinac, Mustafi, Socrates, Nelson, Guendouzi, and now Balogun. And players it doesn't seem that he wants is.
You think he's ever met Balogun?
Yeah, probably not. It doesn't seem to want to play is Martinelli. Chambers, which is a weird one because he's played 20 minutes, 1 whole game, and or a sub where he played 1 game. And
he came in for like the
Gabriel
last 9 minutes. He came in for the last 9 minutes, I think, of a recent game. It was the Benfica game, right? When we needed to shut the door on them, and we had 5 subs in that game. Otherwise, we would never have seen him. But yeah, he's another one. But he's fifth pick in a 2-person position, and good for rotation and having to help in case someone gets hurt. Martinelli should be right up there to be. I mean. It's a bizarre thing. I mean, you almost write off this season for Martinelli.
He'll leave, though. He won't stay because he is too good. And as soon as he
as
soon as he gets down, the big teams will look at him and go, "Oh, see what he did last season? Young Brazilian talent. He can play in any position. He's got pace, goals, assists, everything. Oh, we'll have him." And then we'll be seeing him playing for one of the big teams like Barcelona in 3 or 4 years' time, going, "Shit."
I don't think that happens this summer. I think that's a huge threat of happening next summer if he continues to. I mean, if we start seeing him play U23 games again, that's a problem. But if he stays healthy, I think he'll get his opportunity. But I don't see him leaving this summer. But it's a concern for me. I absolutely. He's one of the few substitutions that when he comes into the game or when I see his name on the starting lineup, I get really, really excited. To see what he's going to do in a particular game. I mean, Saka, you've gotten used to it because he's in the lineup all the time. But if I wake up on Saturday morning and see Martinelli in that lineup, I'm intrigued, and I know I'm not going to see that. That's what's unfortunate.
Carl?
Yeah, it's a quandary, and it's very, very weird. I don't understand why he's not playing. It's like I said, me and Josh was speaking. I don't understand why you would bring on Aubameyang in the Leicester game when we're 3-1 up 10 minutes ago and not bring on Martinelli. It, to me, made no sense. He's 0 minutes, like we say, in the last 7 games. That's ridiculous. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Mike, about playing under 23 games, but you'd think he'd need some sort of match fitness. Now, if Arteta's saying, "Oh, he's not quite there yet," I mean, how do you get there if you're not playing any minutes at all? You're only playing in practice games in training. You're not playing under 23 games. You're not playing.
Yeah, I'd rather play under 23 games than be an unused sub for 12 straight games. You're right. Yeah,
it's silly, and I don't know. We don't know what's the reason behind. Obviously, Arteta will come out with all you're never going to know what's going to happen. He's going to come out and say, "Oh, well, he's not quite there," and maybe he's being trained up to play up front. We don't know whether he's not going to play as a winger. He wants to play him as a central striker, and obviously, you're not going to get in the head of Aubameyang. Lacazette at the moment is, he's our top goal. No, he's the second highest goal scorer. So it's unfortunately it's a little bit harder, but I just don't understand how you can say that someone gets 0 minutes, especially over someone like Willian, who, let's face it, Willian wasn't in the best of form. So why wasn't Martinelli getting Willian's minutes? I don't get it. And let's face it, I mean, we're going to get rid of some strikers soon, aren't we? So, there's a big chance that Eddie Nketiah is going to leave in the summer. There's a chance that Lacazette's going to leave because he's only got one, and
I mean Eddie's not even
got one more season.
Eddie's not even included in the 18s anymore, or is he? I rarely look at the substitute.
I have an Eddie stat for you because I did all the stats for I'll read you what the stats I've got. The striker situation: Alba has 6 goals in his last 6 league games that he started, which is important because when you get 5, although he nearly did score against Leicester. Lacazette has got 5 goals in the last 9 league games that he started. They're both back in form. Eddie has played 10 minutes in our last 12 league games. Martinelli one I've already read, and then the other talking point about our striker situation was Bellerin. Apparently, those in the know say he's gone to Red Bull. So those stats, Carl, Eddie, 10 minutes in the last 12 league games. You think Arteta's gone? Nah, you're not cutting the alleged mustard. Ding.
Well, you think he brought him back from Leeds, last season, thinking that he was going to do something, and he played a few games. Eddie Nketiah is not going to make it at Arsenal. I think there's not an Arsenal fan who can say he is. He's never going to. I can't imagine Eddie Nketiah leading the line for us in that games. That is not going to happen. So he's going to go in the summer. He has to go. Where he goes, who knows? I hope he does find another Premier League team. Bellerin, we don't know. His contract runs out at the end of the season. Whether he's going to stay or not, who knows? It's probably looking unlikely he's going to. So that's a striker you're going to get rid of there. Lacazette, one season left in his contract. You're going to...
He's the one that's going out the door this summer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so I understand that, you want to play your best players to try and get as high up at the table, but why are you giving minutes to Lacazette knowing he's going to leave next season? Maybe towards the end of the season, you might sort of drop Lacazette because he's going to leave. Or shop window time, I guess, to see if you can get at least 10 million for Lacazette. He's 31 years old. Who knows? And yeah, so I don't know. It's just a weird situation, isn't it, Mike? That Martinelli is just not getting any minutes whatsoever. Not even the 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And listen, Arsenal's last set of games, we haven't had the luxury of being able to bring him on, but it's just very, very weird that Martinelli, a prospect who, he's very exciting. He's a very, very exciting player. He's getting 0 minutes on the pitch.
I thought we would see him in that last scramble against Benfica, and then I think once we scored, the plan changed. I have no way of knowing for sure whether he was warming up, getting ready to come in, or not. I think that would have been the perfect position to put him in because you just pretty much have to go for broke, and he's a go for broke kind of player. But
that's the kind of guy I am.
It is. And the second we ended up actually scoring that goal, it was two defenders coming in to try to close it out, which made sense to me. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. Arteta's so much. He's hard to predict. We could end up seeing Martinelli play a huge part in the run into the season, or we could see him not on the pitch again until August. I mean, we just don't know. Stay tuned and find out.
All right, Carl. That's I did have a little dig about Kolasinac and Mustafi, Schalke. They got smashed 5-1 at the weekend, and then they got Gross sacked after 63 days, 1 win in 12, and then pointing out that Özil at Fenerbahce, 6 games, they've won 3, lost 3, no goals, no assists. He's played 351 minutes. Which equals 4 whole games virtually. But I thought I won't bother mentioning that because there's still some lovers. So, Carl, second half of the show is down to you.
All right, we're going to have some listener questions. And the first one, Daniel, is for you. It's from Matt L. Roberts. And he says, would you like to see Matt Ryan play a few matches towards the end of the season?
See, that's a tough one because he's a really good goalkeeper. Josh knows his stuff when it comes to tactics and other things. And he says he is one of the best players, goalkeepers. You can have to play the tactics that we play. But he's not better than Leno. And until we're in a position where it doesn't matter if we don't play well, if we lose the odd game, until we're in that position, no. I want Leno to play every single game for the whole of the season. But I would like Ryan to sign and be our backup goalkeeper for next season and maybe have him do in the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Europa League, and then see how he gets on, because at the moment you've got nobody pushing Leno, and Leno doesn't seem the kind of guy that's going to go full Chesney and having a fag in the showers and eating McDonald's in the shower as well, whatever he does. Yeah, so nope, Leno all the way for me.
Quick one to you as well, Mike. Do you think that we should keep Leno playing, or would you like to see Matt Ryan come in for a few games, give Leno a bit of a break?
If Matt Ryan had been here since the beginning of the season, I would have been strongly in favor of having him take the midweek games and have Leno be our weekend keeper, which for the most part is league versus cups. And but in the middle of a season when Matt Ryan hasn't had that level of experience, barking out orders to the people in front of him, organizing his defense, and letting them and having them kind of know what his preferences are, I think it would be a huge risk to put him in games that we need to win. And there is not a game left in this season that we don't need to win. So I think Matt Ryan loves the club. If he's available to buy, on a permanent over the summer and finish out his loan, I think he would do that. I don't think he would scoff at not being first choice, especially if he's told, look, you're going to, there are probably 15 to 20 non-league games, and I don't mean non-league as in like Sutton United, but non-league as in like non-Premier League games, and that's enough to make, and there's injuries that can happen. Look what happened with Emi Martinez last year. So, I think he would stay. I think he'd be intrigued enough to stay, but absolutely not putting him into any game where Leno is fit and available to play at this point.
No, I definitely tend to agree with what you said there.
Oh, if Ryan's on free, that's a good point, Drago or Avon. If Ryan, I think his contract is out at the end of the year. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'd keep him. Let's face it.
Pay him $350 a week, and then we're good.
Runnison is not the keeper. He's not our second choice.
And Ryan's homegrown, like Sai also points out. Ryan's homegrown, which doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I think we have to either ship out or loan Runnison. Whether we can get him a loan, whoever's going to take him, who knows? But I think it was a bit of a mistake signing Runnison, but we are where we are. I'm going to stick with you on the next question, Mike, and it's from Sam. And Sam says, should we as fans worry or go bonkers about seeing the starting lineup before games? Recently, there's been uproars and crying about starting lineups, and I feel we worry more than we need to about the starting lineup. We only have data from FIFA or Football Manager. I mean, is what Dani says. Do you trust the process of what Arteta's doing?
I think the moment the lineup comes out, and this is the way I've been living this season, we need to go absolutely bonkers. I mean, if there's not the hour between when the lineup comes out and the game starts is the most prime hour for just being the most unreasonable piece of garbage that you could possibly be. And I'm referring to myself. I mean, on Sunday morning when that lineup came out, Danny, you saw that. You actually complimented me on my live stream, which was about 45 seconds long, of me just basically like trying to avoid being suicidal, and then my head was in my hands, which is the most attractive I generally look when. I mean, I was despondent when that lineup came out, which is what makes it just all the more funny.
100 quid.
Yeah. I was so despondent. I tweeted out that I would buy a Willian shirt, a brand new Willian shirt of their choice for anyone that retweeted my tweet. And if Willian scored or assisted and we won, I'm like, what are the chances of that happening at this point? And so yes, you're welcome that I revised Willian's career, but it's just, I love that it's just an hour. If it was the day before, Twitter would be just an awful, awful place to be. But for an hour, it's overreact if you're kidding. But if you're serious, then no. I think we've learned on Sunday that what you think you're going to see in the lineup isn't necessarily going to play itself out on the pitch, and you should wait for it. But if you have a good sense of humor about it and you don't mind being wrong and you're not trying to just make strong takes and predicting something right before it happens is probably not the best way to go about it. So. Yeah, I mean it's fun, but the real answer, Sam, is probably wait till after the game to go bonkers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everyone thinks they're football managers now, don't they? And they tend to think, "Oh, this is." I mean, if you saw the Leicester lineup, you would have gone mad and thought, "Oh my God, we're definitely going to." Leicester were in fourth place at the time, and you're thinking, "Oh shit!" Like we're playing El Nene and the Xhaka axis. So and
we're playing Pepe on the right for someone who hadn't yet learned the issue with Pepe playing in front of Cedric. I looked at that as a bad thing. So I did overreact, and I love mocking myself for overreacting it 2 hours later. Because like I said earlier, I'd much rather be proven wrong about a negative opinion than feel good about having been proven right. So that's me.
Yeah, it's just very, very weird. This question is going to go to both of you. Mike, you're going to have the luxury of thinking about this, and Dani, I'm going to put you on the spot. We've already read the question. And Fred says, there was no break between last season and this season. This season ends on the 23rd of May, day before my birthday. The Euros start the 11th of June until the 11th of July. Next season starts the 8th of August. The World Cup is the 21st of November to the 18th of December. That's 3 seasons of straight football. Next season is squad depth more important than first 11 quality.
Oh, me. I was just looking.
Yes, Daniel.
I was checking why hasn't Mike answered that? Oh, just look at what that did to Sanchez when he was playing for Chile with the Confederation.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
He was probably one of the top 10 players in the world at that time. He barely managed to do it, and you could see he was absolutely knackered. I mean, look at the likes of Smith Rowe at the moment. You can see that he's knackered. He's moved him out to the wide left, and he's knackered playing at them no matter where they are. I think that's why people are saying that Lacazette might be going in the summer and ship out a few others. I think we've got a core squad now that are really good, and we need to build on that squad and keep those players that know how Arteta plays, know how the system works, because the next 18 months or the rest of this season and all of next season, including the World Cup, it is going to be hectic. You're going to be seeing players breathing out of their arses the whole time. They are going to be absolutely knackered. So we need as many players to be fit and to be at the club and to know how the system works, and because it is going to be mad. There's so many things wrong with having the World Cup. Even if you look at the articles, that woman did a thing about the number of people that have died during the building of the stadiums in Qatar. How there isn't protests outside of the the Qatari embassy. That should just be banned, just for human rights and all that other stuff. It's an absolute disgrace.
Thank you, FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA don't give a fuck because FIFA are a charity like the Olympics. They don't give a fuck as long as they're making their money out of it. And the whole thing is just an absolute mess. And for this to be going on during COVID, did he mention that we got the Euros in the summer as well?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, they're still not sure where they're going to play. Remember, it's meant to be hosted in 12 countries around Europe. Obviously, due to COVID, that cannot happen. No one in their right mind can look and think that's going to happen. So, I read in the papers today that we've offered to host it between us and Scotland, I believe, which would make sense. It would make sense to have it in one location in Europe. I understand the reason why they want to share it out, but it makes sense to have it in one location, so you're not having people traveling. It's going to be limited fans in the stadium anyway, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's not going to be, no stadium's going to be capacity. And I know our Prime Minister said that we'll be out of lockdown by June, or we'll be back to whatever normal is, but I can't see 60,000 people congregating at the Emirates Stadium from all over Europe coming to watch their team. I just can't see it. Maybe half full
because it's money.
No, they definitely. Well, they cancelled it last season. There's no way they're going to cancel it this season.
They've even kept all the merchandise still says Euro 2020 on it. Yeah,
because they don't want. It's like the Olympics. The Olympics still says 2020 because they don't want to reprint it. Mike, do you think
it's like this? It's like the T-shirts that you end up like for the Super Bowl. You see the Kansas City because they all have them when the game's over. So then you end up with Kansas City Chiefs 2021 Super Bowl winners, and they send those all to poor countries where they don't have enough clothes for people and stuff like that. There's some countries, I think, in either Asia or Africa where those things are. So the Euro 2020 thing should be sent there, and they make up new ones already.
Or just cancel it because no one gives a shit about it.
But they're never, Danny, they're never going to cancel it again. They want their money. They want their TV commercial money. TV. They're going to play it. And that's what it is. It's all commercial. It's TV. It's TV money.
That's why we're still doing. That's why we're doing round of 32 games in 2 cities where neither of the teams are from. Could they have made all of those one round? Sure, but that's half the money gone.
And where do the TV people get their money from? They get it from us. People, cancel all of your TV and say no. You lot need to be bloody responsible.
Cancel culture.
Yeah, that's what we do. Cancel culture. The whole of BT and all of them, and just get together and go, no, we pay your fucking wages, all of football, World Cup, on moral reasons. We could do an entire podcast, Carl, on the stuff that is going on in Qatar.
By the way, given the fact that Wolves have just dropped behind again and City have scored, this is the portion of the podcast where the Jewish guy on the pod says, "Thank you, Jesus." because he's just put Manchester City ahead. So
thank you, Odin, as well, and who's one of them? And Ra. Thank Ra. He's coming soon. Ra's going to be here soon. It's going to be summer, Carl.
Ra. I heard he's coming on Monday night.
Is he?
Yes, Monday Night Raw.
Oh, I tell you, there's a channel I'm watching on Twitch, and it's nothing but old Raw and WCW Thunder. I spend hours watching that every day. It's amazing. God,
could I answer the question about the international? It's so funny you mentioned Sanchez, because it was the first thing that came to my mind. He played probably about 700 games in 3 years for club and country.
For it, he's fucked.
Yeah. I mean, look, we got rid of him at the right time, I suppose. But our national, I mean, it used to be that whenever a tournament came about, whether it was the Euros or the Copa America or the World Cup, or just even the international breaks for qualifiers, every single one of our players, save one or two, would go out of town and return injured. We don't have a ton of full nationals, and we definitely don't have a ton of full European internationals. Xhaka, Odegaard, if he plays for Norway,
he will.
Kieran Tierney, I believe Scotland qualified, right?
Yeah.
So Tierney's there. Ceballos probably won't be an Arsenal player by that point. Bernd, Leno, you're not going to get too tired playing keeper, and he's not going to be the starting one anyway. Bukayo Saka has almost got to be on that squad, and then Bellerin if he's still part of our team. Other than that, we've got probably more internationals in Africa than we have in Europe. And I don't know when the next African Cup of Nations are. It seems like it's every 6 months sometimes, but that's going to be our bigger issue, I think, than the Euro. So, I mean, to the question, yeah, obviously depth is always going to be important, but I don't know that it's any different than it always has been, because in various portions of the world, there's a summer, tournament, a continental tournament just about everywhere, either January or July every single year anyway. So it's as important as it will always be, especially for a team with full internationals.
The next African Cup of Nations should be held in Cameroon this year. It's meant to run from...
Is that your opinion, or are you saying that's what you're looking at?
Well, according to Wiki, it was meant to have run from January to February this year, but now they've moved it to January to February next year. And so, yeah... I thought you were
just giving your opinion that's where it should be held.
If you're African, then you're going to be playing a major tournament at the beginning of the year and the end of the year.
Oh, God, that's right.
Good luck with that.
Well, I don't know that Gabon is qualifying for the World Cup.
At least it looks like it's going to be held in Cameroon, which is one of the nicer countries. It's not been held in somewhere where you're going to have lots of nice stadiums. So that's going to be good. Yeah, because sometimes they hold it in shitty countries where you think, oh, that's probably not a safe place. Much like when we held the World Cup in Russia. Not really a good idea. If there's any Russians watching, I'm very sorry, but no. Qatar, not a good place.
I'm not entering this conversation.
Well, there's some places that should not, like we see the number of UEFA Cup finals are held in countries like Azerbaijan. Why the fuck are you holding it there? No one wants to go there.
Especially a whole new podcast. Anyway, let me crack on. This one's for you, Mike. So Matt L. Roberts, he says, what were the odds on John Olympiacos and why was it always us? We are going to have to do it the hard way.
I actually have the answer to this. The odds were 98%. And the other 2% was going to be Villarreal because of Unai Emery. But Olympiacos, we were talking about this before the podcast. Olympiacos is the new Barca and the new Bayern. I mean, we are bound to play them twice a year in some tournament. And the good news is we won't have to do that for very long, because in the Conference League, the Europa Conference League that we'll be in next year, for the next 5 years, it'll be like Cluj or Young Boys every single year. We won't have to worry about Olympiacos anymore. But yeah, Olympiacos seems to be, I mean, they're not a bogey team. They're just a team that we play every year. We can at least get past them at times. Not last season, but I bank us to get, it's not like running up against a brick wall like we did against Bayern Munich 18 straight years and Barcelona the other 18 years. So the Conference League final is in Albania next year, Danny.
And Albania used to be a terrible place to go, but now, much like most of Eastern Europe, is pretty good. But there are some countries that I wouldn't want to. I expect the FIFA to have the next World Cup in Venezuela. There you go. That's the kind of organisation them fucktards have.
I believe the next World Cup is here, actually.
I mean, Dani, if we're going to do an extra, we should maybe talk about the Euros. Like, if we're going to do an After Dark special, because I'm sure you and I could, and Josh, and what's the other one's name? The long-haired one? Chris, that's the way. Like, could wax lyrical.
I forgot his name. I forgot his name after I stopped seeing him on Twitter. I don't know what happened there, but
what happened? Is it not on Twitter? What's happened to Chris's Twitter? I must ask him that, because I seem to ask him every day, but he doesn't always tend to respond, bastard. But...
Talking about countries and stuff, I every now and then, every 6 months, I put a Bergkamp one into Twitter and I searched what people are saying. It's usually good stuff. There was 2 blokes having a conversation that both unfollowed the pod because I said on the pod, I'm really glad to see there's lots of lots of British players, homegrown players playing for the Arsenal reserves, and they said that was me being horrible and they're never listening again. Racist. These people don't understand football. The rest of the conversation, that pod, was about the homegrown quota, a little bit about Brexit, and the fact that these players, Saka and Smith Rowe, they've grown up being gooners. They're less likely to do a Cesc Fabregas, you fucking idiot. So before you get the hump and decide you're never listening to the show again, understand what homegrown means and how it affects our bloody squad. Muppets, not that else.
Yeah!
Go on, Carl.
Sons of a bitch.
These are the views of Dani GFP. Not a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast.
The views of our guest and our host are not necessarily like. Then what else? What other views are supposed to represent your podcast? Then?
Yeah, homegrown. Fucking idiot.
What happened to Ellis, by the way? Did he finally get his feelings hurt? Did he get his feelings hurt by Carl or what?
Well, because I'm the only key worker in that. For ABW, I mean, Ellis goes to a hospital every day and reckons he's a key worker, but I'm the one that's moving millions of people around London every flipping day. Well, I say millions. There's not really millions of people moving around London because we're in a national lockdown. But, you know, I'm still a key worker.
Dozens of people a day you're moving around now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's more people traveling than should be, but we are where we are. Yes, Ellis is still all right. Chris is, I don't know, watching French football somewhere. It's very quiet because after half the French team got knocked out of the Europa, you didn't really hear from Chris.
Funny that. Oh, dear.
It's like watching a family slowly drift apart. It's hurting my heart, you know.
No, we'll get on fine. We'll chat, and we're all still in. You know, we've got our very, very old WhatsApp group. Still got Fifey and Simon in there, and then we've got the old one with us lot in there, including Jeff, and then we've got the new one with Femi and Nick and Richard in. Carl, there's one more.
You know what all those groups have in common?
Fuck all.
I'm not in them.
Well, you don't need to.
I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying it's a nice thing for you guys. Mahrez has just scored.
How many groups are you in that are Arsenal based? Hey, you talk about you must be in a dozen.
It's too many. Andy absolutely hates it because every time something comes up for the podcast, I create a new group, and he's like, "I'm in like 26 Arsenal groups with the same guy."
I shouldn't forget the ones with Stefan and Lion Gooner and Mr. What's his name?
Ryan from Orlando. You got one of them?
Did you say nice? Chris Lodato.
Oh, Chris. That's right.
Yes. And Hedgehog was Travis. That's it. And there's a keeper's in there, but a keeper's gone mental and run away. There's another question just for you in our chat. Private chat.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Question for Carl.
You answer it, and I'll have a little snooze. I'll fight hard.
I'm not going to do a Chris. Behave yourself. Looking at the importance of the UER and ESR, possible absence from whom start for Olympiacos as the front for Pepe, Saka, Odegaard, Uber.
No one understood that question because you mumbled it to yourself.
Oh, okay. So looking at the importance of the UEFA and also ESR.
Emile Smith Rowe.
I knew that, Dani. Shut up. As possible absence, who would you like to start versus Olympiacos as a front four? Would it be Saka, Pepe, Odegaard, or Uber? You got to play the strongest team humanly possible. You have to go, and so for me, as a front four, I would go for Uber up top, and then I would go for Saka, Odegaard, and I would probably go for I'd go for Pepe, and I'd have Saka and Pepe interchanging, confusing the fuck out of these people, because 1 minute you'd have Saka on the left and then you'd have him on the right. And again, like Mike was saying, it all depends on who you play at right back. I think if you play Cedric at right back, then I think it's a good shout to have Pepe playing, because Pepe and Cedric have that interchange with them and they can play well. If you play Bellerin there, which he probably is going to play, I think I'm not going to badmouth Bellerin because he's not a bad player. I just think that the understanding between Cedric and Pepe is very, very good, and hopefully it can continue. And Bellerin's the sort of player that you bring on the last 10 minutes and you just say, run at their left back. Absolutely make him tired. If he's get a foul out of him, if he's on the yellow card, the instruction you give him is run. Just run. When you get the ball, you run at him and you create the space. But for me, you've got to play Pepe. Pepe's in form at the moment. Pepe's playing very, very well. Odegaard is always going to play in that number 10 role. You've got to play Uber up front, and you can't leave out Saka. Saka is.
I mean, I don't know what
the.
You could decide right versus left, but I mean, I don't really understand. I mean, yeah, you'd love to see Lacazette get minutes. You'd love to see Martinelli get minutes. Willian may actually. I mean, we've got 3 games in 7 days. Willian will play a part of at least one of them. We know this now, if not more. But that's our best front four right now without ESR in. So, I mean, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you've got to.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice to go out and score 3 or 4. I know how much I'm asking, but to score 3 or 4 away goals at Olympiacos, like Manchester United has just scored its 4th goal against Wolves, to do that on away goals, then all of a sudden we have opportunities that open up to us to not have to burn our guys out in that second leg. So, yeah, you're hoping that we get the job wrapped up quickly. I mean, we should know that we're not going to do that. We don't do that anymore. No,
it would be nice to, and unfortunately, because of the Spurs game in there, you're probably looking that you have to play. Put it this way, Arteta's not stupid. He knows that he has to win that Spurs game. You know, he just has to. You know, for the fan base, for the local pride, for us talking. If there's a way to get the fan base on your side, is to beat your local rivals. You beat Man United,
and with us just behind them. And I mean, this is a situation where it isn't just a North London derby where we're screwing up and we're in 11th and they're in 3rd place. Right now, as little as it matters in the grand scheme of things, it matters a lot to people that we have an opportunity to finish ahead of them this year after all that talk from earlier this season. That's not going to happen if we don't win in that game. So, you know, there is no rest game in that run of 3 games that we're talking about. It's a good thing we have some health for once, like Dani was talking about earlier. I mean, we don't have to worry about playing 270 minutes out of those guys in that week. But the first game you gotta win. Then you worry about it from there.
Yeah, 100%. I think the only interchangeable probably people on the pitch is whoever partners Xhaka in midfield, because Xhaka is going to play every single one of those games, isn't he? He's going to play the 2 Olympiacos, and it just depends on whether you bring back in Partey from his injury, whether you bring in Ceballos after his little blip in Europe. That will be the interchangeable one. I can't. Maybe El Nene, you know, does he start any of the games? So it just depends on who partners Xhaka. Then who plays centre back is whether you play Gabriel and Holding, whether you play Mari, whether you play Luiz. I think that's also very important. I think the only rock solid is the front 4. That's the only rock solid that's definitely going to happen. And maybe you may swap out Lacazette for Uber in the Tottenham game.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Carl. I was about to say the Tottenham game is probably one where Lacazette gets the start. Oba comes off the bench. I wouldn't think that they'd put Oba on the left because then you pretty much you take away Pepe or Saka when you do that. But I'm lockstep with you on kind of the number 9 being probably Aba, Laka, in those 3 games. Of course, we're completely overlooking the Burnley game, which is our next football game. I mean,
yeah, it's the next game, and we just brush off it quickly. I mean, Burnley, they just lost, what was it? 4? Was it 4-1 they lost? 4-0 they lost to Spurs? Or 3?
Yeah, they didn't pull
they didn't do themselves justice. Yeah. And unfortunately, this sort of game, you'd think that you'd feel confident about. You think, okay, Burnley away, yeah, it's going to be an easy win. But unfortunately, this is Arsenal, and there's such a thing as an easy win. Didn't Burnley beat us at home? I want to say they did, didn't they? There's one was in our they did. There was one was in our very poor run, and Burnley beat us at home, and that was one of the games when I was very close to tweeting Arteta out.
God! Right in the middle of December was the fingers were like over the keyboard, ready to go for so many of us. I was right there with you. That was the Arsenal Burnley game. Was I believe? Yeah, that was the one where Xhaka lost his head and Aubameyang got the own goal.
And
so we've got to beat them. We've got to go away. We need that. Some sort of luck. I mean, they're going to try their best to shut up shop, and they're going to want to draw. If we play how we've been playing, and we're going to play Saka, aren't we? We're definitely going to start Saka. We're definitely going to start Odegaard. We're definitely going to start Pepe. And it just depends on whether you give Oba that chance from the start, or if you bring him off and you start Lacazette. It all depends, but we have to beat them. We have to try and beat them. They're a strong team. They've got some decent players, but they don't have enough players they shouldn't worry us. And that's the problem. The fact that they shouldn't worry us makes me worry even more.
It will.
But we're going to have one eye on the Olympiacos game, aren't we? We're going to be thinking, okay, although we're playing on the Saturday, and the Olympiacos game is not until the Thursday. So, it's a decent kind of rest. And I'm assuming that we're probably going to fly out on the Wednesday night, train, and then play the game on Thursday. Mike, what do you think? Do you think we'll beat them?
Them being Olympiacos?
Burnley.
Oh, Burnley. I do. I mean, I can't figure this team out because just when I feel confident about us winning our next game, we self-destruct. Why did I say self-immolate? That actually does kind of describe what I'm talking about. That's like really dark. Like it's not even just that we're bad; we're actually setting ourselves on fire. But yeah, that just tends to happen whenever we think the worst is about to happen, whether it's, pre-game when you see the lineup come out against Leicester, or whether it's, right before the Chelsea game on Boxing Day, all of a sudden the best things happen. So Burnley is a trap game though, because I think as we've just done, a lot of people are focusing on that 3-game run next week and not thinking so much about Burnley because it's kind of fallen in between. But I've got faith that this club is starting to understand what they need to do. They're starting to play better together. We are always due to play down to the level of our opponent, and I don't know that changes on Saturday, but I like us to pull out a win in that one. I wouldn't say it'll be dominant. We won't do the 4-0 that Spurs did on them last week, but I could see it. Are we doing predictions, or you would just do I get specific?
I mean, what score line do you think we're going to win by?
I could see a 2-1 win in this game. 2 goals from Pablo Mari.
Oh, God, you do that, you'll be a rich man if you put a bet on. I know that.
I'll buy a shirt. I'll buy a Pablo Mari jersey for anybody that watches this podcast, retweets it if Pablo Mari gets a goal or an assist and we win. No, I'm sorry, 2 goals or assists and we win. I got to make it a little harder this time.
Do you think we'll beat Burnley?
Well, looking at their last 4 home league games, they 0-0 with West Brom, 1-1 with Fulham, 1-1 with Brighton. They lost to Man City and they beat Villa. So I'd say we're going to beat them. They got Leicester on the 3rd, which is plus they've got a midweek game against Leicester on the 3rd. Tomorrow. Yeah, so that's
this is where all those games in hand are finally being caught up with, and that might help us a little bit.
Plus it's we'll be going up there the day before because it's 12:30 kickoff. I reckon we'll beat them 3-0. 3. I mean, you look at their top goal scorer, Chris Wood with 4 and Barnes with 3. And the rest of their team have all got 1.
He always plays well against us. He's one of my most hated players in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, I will easily beat the goal. And then we'll be on for Olympiacos. That's going to be the tough one. That's going to be our away to Olympiacos. Does worry me because they're a decent team.
Yeah, but hopefully we have the players in the squad that we can deal with them. Hopefully, lessons would have been learned from last season. Hopefully history doesn't repeat itself and we come through that game. We beat the Olympiacos. We beat the scum. We beat the Olympiacos again. Good week.
We go. We move.
Indeed. Right, Dani, let's say our goodbyes. I want to say thank you to all the listeners. Oh, gentlemen, shout-outs.
I just realized I had to come up with one, and I got it.
Okay, go on then, Mike. Go for it.
Okay. Gentleman shout-out to Mike Hernandez, Mikey Hers, as he's known on Twitter. The guy is one of the first people who regularly communicated with us when we started doing our podcast, other than Dani, who probably was the first person that we actually met through it. But Mikey's a good guy. He's always willing to lend a hand to our charitable efforts, and he did so this year. And in exchange for that, not in exchange for that, because he didn't ask for this, he just got a signed shirt from Alan Smith thanking him for his kindness and assistance with the charity. And apparently it arrived during the podcast today, and he was in the chat talking about it. So love you, mate. That's a little bit more than a gentleman's shout out, but definitely top gooner.
That was really, really nice, to be honest. Really good. Dani, who is yours?
We've got a couple of podcasts where we've got to say thank you to Paul Nell1, who has joined our Twitch. Very nice of you. And then there was someone in our chat. I said hello to him earlier. I can't find his name now. And he has just joined the YouTube channel. God, I've scrolled up. It's not there. Why can't I remember his name? That's very annoying. Anyway, thanks to him. And then also, this is my personal one. This is Ryan does the Mr. Arsenal podcast. I'll put it in the chat. People can go and click on that. That's the quiz that I was on at the weekend. It was a really good quiz, 2 and a bit hours long. Ryan always arranges really good quizzes. Mike does all the questions, and us lot do our best to try and answer them because Mike is very, very tricky. This is
Mike McDonald, not me.
Not you, because you can barely write your own name. Mike McDonald, who is an Englishman living in the USA as a football coach. So if you can go and click on that and give it a like and go and watch it and subscribe to his channel. The other one is that's Mike's channel. There, I'll just put that in the chat. That's his interview with Lee Gunner. Lee is a person who some people like and some people don't. Very political way of putting it. So it's a really good interview. I'm only 45 minutes in. And so, go and watch that. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Mike's channel because Mike is whoring himself out to anybody who will have him at the moment. He's doing 10, 12 podcasts a day. And
my agent is killing me because I told him, I'm like, the man needs to, Mike Feinberg needs to sleep. I need to eat. Clearly, I need to clean off my laptop after each one, and I'm being overbooked. The
person who joined our YouTube was Josiah. Messed that up. Yeah, he subscribes. Thank you very much. I think he's an official mushroom now. There you go, Cole. That's all I've got to do. Oh, there he is. He's there in the chat. Why couldn't you have done that when I'm maybe having to go and look for it? Thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to do mine quickly. Mine is to Bobby Chakraborty.
That is actually the first person I met through the podcast in person. I met him and the beloved David Faber at the exact same time at the Gunners Pub. God, I miss that guy. I don't miss Bobby Chakraborty that much, but sorry, I just stepped all over your gentleman's nod. I just got excited when you mentioned Bobby.
Bobby's a good guy that we always interact on Twitter, so like definitely shout out to him, and also shout out to Norma. Norma is or Noma, I should say. Sorry, don't butcher me for butchering your name. I'm really sorry. She's always a good person to interact with as well. Those are my 2 shout outs, and that is it. Like I said, Mike, thank you very, very much for coming on. It is a pleasure. I think it's the second time or first time I've been with you.
I think it's like second time, and it's been a long time though. And I interact with Dani so much, but I don't get enough of you. And so this was.
Don't let you near them; you'll steal them.
This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Dani. You kind of had to be here, so I'm not going to thank you. I'm just going to say next time, turn up earlier.
I will. I was busy weeing. I've had 3 during the show. Oh, there's another one.
Listen, whatever showers you want to take, like. Whether they be golden or not, that's up to you, Dani. Some people pay for that service.
Thank you very much for you, Cole, for turning up before you close the show. It's I always, because you are my favourite, and I always like having you on. And Mike's my American.
I just want to be better than Chris. Like as long as I'm better, my bar is to be better than Chris. As long as I'm better than Chris, then I'm fine.
Why would I want to talk about Willian for an hour and a half? Yeah, start off. I could be a Farmers League. Go on, Cole, in the show.
Right, again, thank you to Mike, Dani, all the listeners. We will be back on Saturday after the game against Burnley. Who is going to be on? God knows. I have no idea. It will be sorted out. You will see 2 lovely people or 2 horrible people if Chris is on. So we'll see them. Until such time, we'll see you later. We have been a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. Until such time later, goodbye. #fuck Ellis.